The Best VR Experience Award goes to Body VR by Chuck Chae.
The Venice International Film Festival is one of the 3 most prestigious film festivals in the world. And Korean film director Chuck Chae received the Best VR Experience Award this year. He built up his expertise in 3D and VFX, visual reality, through many productions. Let's learn more about director Chuck Chae, and the unique realm of VR on Heart to Heart. Today I am joined by director Chae Soo-eung, who also goes by Chuck Chae, who received an award at the 75th Venice International Film Festival for his interactive virtual reality film called Body VR. Hello and welcome to Heart. Would you like to say hello to our viewers that are watching?
Hello, I'm Chuck Chae, a director of Body VR. Thanks for having me here today.
Thank you for coming. Now, I would like to begin by saying congratulations.
Thank you.
As you have won an award. This was just last month. Body VR was awarded the Best Virtual Reality Experience Award for interactive content in the Venice Virtual Reality Competition section, which was actually launched last year in 2017. And not only was Body VR the only Korean film to be invited and screened, it was the sole Asian production to compete. So could you tell us about the other productions that actually competed in the same category or section?
Yes, there have been about 250 works was made, and out of that, 30 of them were selected for a competition, coming from various different genres and disciplines and different artists all around the world. And it was a quite humbling experience to see all the work in one place.
Yes. Award winner, Body VR. Could you tell us about it?
Yes, Body VR is a story of one becoming a friend with a lonely mouse. And that's it. We actually took the story world and characters from Nut Job, the feature animation, back in 2014. We incorporated interactive storytelling method to make it more compelling.
Body VR received glowing reviews from, of course, critics and the audience. What did people say they liked most about it?
First of all, they love the cute mouse.
Obviously, yes. Adorable.
But this was the first time that the audiences were able to engage in a film scene without having them ruining the movie.
Okay.
And that's where we focused on, having them be part of the scene, being a hero, and having someone else recognizes you in this virtual reality. Was the key. And even though it had a very simple storyline, but if it was told in interactive fashion, it brings out more from your personal emotional engagement is a lot higher than the linear ones.
So obviously there was interaction. I'm just curious, did the audience actually have to wear any equipment when they watched Body VR?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
At the current stage of technology, we do have to wear HMDs, the head-mount displays. But at the same time, experimenting with the hand controllers. And I really hated the fact that I had to put a controller in a movie piece. But then I just might as well give it a try for this experiment. And we have to keep on trying, not trying to replicate the cinematic language. What if we go between film and gaming by using this device and equipment? Very grateful that people did accept it because it had the fundamentals of fun and self-reflection moment in there. So they didn't really care about whether they had a controller or the goggle was heavy. And that's where the future is headed, I believe. Actually, at the festival, director Guillermo del Toro did share his story and what he's pondering about the VR experience. And he definitely wants to put thousands of people in one experience, the world that he creates, and he wants the audience to be part of it. And that's the direction where we're heading at, thanks to all this convolution evolution of market and technology and the needs for the entertainment has allowed this development to come through.
Yeah, and VR has been around, I think. It just hasn't been in the spotlight.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. For this part of where existence has to come in, we need to interact I got the hint off of Process Philosophy by Alfred Whitehead. And he states that we have to constantly move, and we exist within that process. So we have to do an act of doing to prove. And such thing that we cannot see with our own eyes. In VR, we could utilize a bit of a game and interactive theater language to have you participate, to actually do things within the virtual reality that helps you to prove your existence in a virtual reality and bring up the value that hasn't been be able to see with our own eyes, such as in this case in Buddy VR was a friendship.
What did you want to, I guess, was there a message you wanted to deliver? What did you have in mind? What did you focus on the most or pay most attention to when creating Buddy VR?
Right now, the VR landscape is very lonely. Like you're closed off from the world.
Oh, I see.
And you're just enjoying this yourself with a goggle. Because technology is slowly catching up, we don't have this such multi-user experience like I just talked about just yet in there. So interactivity was a key to bring out the existence as using that real-time user experience as part of the storytelling element was a key. So basically, there are many different elements that we had to focus on. First of all, Buddy had to be cute, but with a huge eyes, so keeping the eye contact with us all the time.
Ah, I see.
And then the audience would interact, and not because, unlike the other like a multi-threaded endings or progression, we actually changed the way the Buddy reacts. So based on your reaction or your choice, Buddy will react differently. Will lead into a different type of unfolding the story. And that's what we focused on, to make that a very subtle thing, and then hopefully it flows based on your own personal value of what you believe in, what the choice you make. That's how the film progresses.
I see. So I would imagine that it would have been all the more difficult for you to actually create something such as Buddy VR, because you have to consider so many things. For example, reactions, or the storyline, of course, or how much freedom you're going to give the viewer or the user, in terms of which way they will go. So how difficult was it to plan everything and create Buddy VR?
Well, Buddy VR, I'll talk about it in this number. It runs for 15 minutes, but it could extend to 30 minutes depending on the audience.
And as short as?
15 minutes,
oh, okay.
Yes. Right. That's the minimum timeline that we usually mention, because I wanted the film to wait for the audience, because each audience has a different, they take time to explore things and they want to try this out, and we give them a limited freedom. So this way they could focus on what the adventure is waiting for us, what is relevant to the story. They could interact, and that limited freedom, I sort of call it, they're on our Buddha's palm and they're running around. We give them a sense of feeling of freedom, like how we are now, actually. We give them a choice and a freedom to go around and collect all the information they need. And in the end, you get to make up that story. I call it a totality. You gain your totality based on what you have gained, and that's the fun of findings in the end. Our younger audiences, they don't, they just have YouTube videos and everything on demand, and they want to press on anything that is glass surface, make sure they, responds and everything. So for them, to have them sit down and have them follow along the story, either it has to be really good or compelling, or they bring up very mature content to provoke some of the sensitive issues, or it has to listen to them.
Buddy VR is about viewers becoming the friend of a lonely mouse who lives in a movie. Audience members are the main characters in Buddy VR, and they can experience a whole new world. Critics and audiences praise this film as everyone takes center stage in this VR experience instead of just enjoying the story. let's talk more about VR films, which is opening a new chapter in the film industry.
So we're talking about VR. What exactly, I mean, what is there like a proper term for it? Let's take Buddy VR, for example. Is it a film? Is it a virtual experience? I guess it could also feel like a game. Is there a term for what should we call it?
That's that's a very good point. Very good argument you pointed out. That's where we are right now. This is so sensitive. Even at this new attraction that is being opened in Disney, Star Wars theme park attractions, they don't have a proper term for how to call this. This is not an amusement park. This is not a theme park. This is not a hotel resort. Like, what is this? But as soon as the audience gets there, they get to live their life as they were part of the Tatooine, like this Star Wars world. And of course, we would need to use an equipment, which I believe it will get better over time. We have to incorporate every discipline or different language from film, game, and also interactive theater play, and also sociology, internet. So for that, for now, I believe whomever called it an experience, it's definitely more than just film and game.
Do you think that VR will change the film industry? And if so, how soon will that happen, do you think?
I'm a little pessimistic, though. I know it's kind of ironic. I mean, I'm winning an award with a VR film, but I'm a bit pessimistic of how VR landscape is forming because it's uncomfortable. I look at two things. Audience has to be comfortable, no matter what. And for that, VR does have its own niche of fun, but I don't think it's going to get there early enough due to the hardware. I'm hoping that hardware will catch on, just like how cell phone took 10 years while landline phone took 50 years. I believe it's going to get faster in adaptation. And the second thing is the text, actually, the literature, the language or the grammar for VR. We need to train more artists to get used to it. And a lot of artists born in 1980s are catching on because they were born as with the VHS and with computer gaming, with the film. So they know how to combine and they want to do it all together. And so it's slowly coming. Right now, we're just trying to stick with a text that is used to the audience. So because I believe that's why the Buddy VR came in at this right timing. Even though it has a very simple text, just one sentence, could be written by a kindergarten kid, could be extraordinary with interactive storytelling and perfect fit for a VR narrative. And I'm a huge fan of Little Prince. Yes, a Little Prince. And I'm pretty sure everyone agrees. It's a very philosophical piece, and I'm a huge fan of that. I was hoping that Buddy will reflect some of that with our process philosophy built into it. We have to approach it with the text that is easier or could be widely known to people. So right now in this trend, we are just following what the mainstream entertainment has been doing. Like if there's a really famous movie, then we make a VR experience out of it. But in some point where this technology grows and people are used to this culture, it will start to have its own entity to carry on.
Now, we talked about VHS, computer games, gaming, people that were born in the 80s and so on and so forth. Now, you are or were referred to as a video kid. And I would like you to please, maybe in a nutshell, tell us what a video kid is.
That's actually a Konglish term, actually, of how we were, the 80s kids were born with a VHS in their home. And I was one of the fortunate ones to have a father's 8mm camera hidden in the closet, and that actually led me into filmmaking. But yeah, video kid, heavily influenced by that VHS culture where they get to rent and watch a movie or record a TV show. We don't have to wait for the airtime. That was that beginning. It was one day during our family vacation, my older brother asked me to hold the camera still. So I was a human tripod at one point then while we were shooting a family movie. But that moment, I was looking through that black and white viewfinder. Totally changed my life. It was so much fun. I got to replay the time, and I was really impressed. And then during my school years, that's how I got to communicate with my friends and families. I would make a movie with them, or my interpretation or manipulation of how they were presented, and I give them a feedback. That was a way of me expressing my love and care for them.
Maybe that's, well, I guess you could say that's when you started filming, right?
Yes, yes, that's, yeah.
So I understand that, I mean, you grew up in Korea and you decided to go to the States to study, obviously, film, because you graduated from the University of Central Florida with a major in film directing and producing.
When I decided to go to America to study, there was no prominent film school in Korea, unfortunately. They were just starting out. But then as soon as I look at Spielberg's films and everything, I'm like, oh man, we have to go. And at the same time, as I was mentioning earlier, watching the faces of my friends and families all impressed by the video or movie that we made together, that wow factor actually led me into this gave me some sort of weird pleasure, I would say. It's not a fetish, but it's something that I would still look for. Even to this day, I would face my face towards the audience and turn against my screen, and looking at the audience for 2 hours and seeing their reactions, it really makes me happy and all. That energy was that wow factor, I call it, wasn't just coming from film, actually. I was a huge fan of a theme park as well, Disney. When I went to UCF, one of my professors really influenced me. Him coming from a film background, also working on a theme park. I was heavily influenced by how this medium could override together, and not just, we could borrow film storytelling method, but then we could use a theme park to tell the story together and whatnot. And it was very interesting. When I went to New York or California, where everyone was still trying to work on 60mm film and Steinbeck, we thought it was cool to do that back then. But here was just we learned how to use a different language to communicate with the different artists from different disciplines, and be humble about being an artist and or the leader, to able to bring in so many different artists or engineers or just people who are just enthralled for filmmaking. They could all just come together, contribute to one art form.
I mean, you've worked on various projects or movies. Let's say, for example, you took the role of a producer and technical director and visual effects producer for a movie called Mr. Go. Okay, it's about like
yes,
gorilla.
Mr. Go.
Mr.
Right.
Go. And I mean, many critics said that the 3D technicality in the film in Mr. Go was just sensational. So do you have any memorable stories, anecdotes you'd like to share about this whole experience when you worked on that project or that film?
Well, it's kind of funny. It felt very natural when I first started this in a commercial feature film world in Korea. Everyone was so scared.
Really?
Yes, of 3D, stereoscopic 3D. We were just getting used to using a digital camera in our feature film workflow, but now we have to put two of them to mimic left and right eye for 3D, stereoscopic 3D movies. And there was three things. Computer-generated gorilla who plays baseball, and we had a 3D stereoscopic film technology. And then there was Kim Yong-hwa, the director of Along with Gods, the 신과 함께 series. And because of his storytelling and his vision and whatnot, I was so intrigued to take part. But other people in the film crews that we were working together, they were just so used to using a film, just trying to stay traditional. But I didn't think that's how the artist should be. We should keep on challenging for the new things and not to be afraid. So they made a new position for me called 3D producer.
Oh.
I was lucky enough to manage everything in both sides, creativity and budget, and technology and budget. You know, we're not just trying to, you know, defend our position or job title here. We're just here to solve the problem together and create a magic together.
Yeah.
And I feel really cool about it for saying that, but because it really came out from my heart, sincerely. You know, just like, this is a great movie. Come on, baseball playing, a gorilla playing baseball and 3D, and this beats James Cameron's Avatar and everything. Everyone just so hyped about, but the reality was, you know, there. And we learned so many mistakes from the past that we could make it better today. But what's really important here is that the courage to make that challenge and able to understand each other a bit.
You directed a Korean-Chinese co-produced movie, and it will soon be released,
yes.
I understand.
Yes.
And one of your works that you produced will be officially invited to this year's Busan International Film Festival, which is amazing. So could you fill us in on the details?
The movie that I directed in China was it's a story about a boy who loses his memory every time he uses superpower. It was a very interesting experience that I was able to work with the Chinese film crew. There's been a bit of a hardship there with the political conflict.
I see.
But finally, we got to release this over a web, actually. But that was a moment that I was able to experiment with the first-person perspective narrative within this 2D feature film.
I see.
Thank you.
I'd also like to ask about any projects that you're working on currently at the moment? Plans or the projects you're working on right now?
Yes. Based on working on many different format, medium, entertainment, there was one thing in common that we are practicing, or our job is to bring out the truth, regardless of whether it's just a computer-generated mouse or whether it's a story of a North Korean orphan. And I'm not trying to make a juxtaposition here, but then my next project that we're planning for is also about bringing out the truth. And the other one is a VR project using a brainwave technology. So basically, user would give out audience would give out a biofeedback.
Okay.
And we would accept the biofeedback into whether it's a yes or no, or angry or sad. Just a very simple and vague answer, just a one trigger from the audience would actually direct the actors and the scene, how it falls out. And I believe after the buddies experience, what I learned was that the audience do think first before they press a button. So what if the film could subtly change according to the audience's feedback? Then we could have somewhat seamless experience, immersive experience that was just suited for that audience. And that's where we're headed now.
It already sounds very exciting.
Thank you.
Extremely exciting. And yes, is there anything that you would like to add before we say goodbye? Any final words?
I was actually visiting a Korean American high school earlier. I will not mention a specific name, but I met many great and passionate children, students there who wanted to be a filmmaker. And it's something that I want to tell them as well. I hope it reaches out to them. Right now, as I am making something, we call it new, but it's not new. I mean, I believe in everything under the sun. It's not new at all. It's been there. We're just discovering it now. I hope they are brave enough to discover what they want, and just simply care for it. Just look around a bit, trying to find and trying to combine things together. Because Convergence did make a different entertainment move for us here. We're combining different experiences and different devices to create something, we call it new. Right.
All right, thank you for that message. I'm sure that has inspired many of our viewers that are watching, especially those that are interested in filmmaking and, of course, interested in other industries. I was able to really feel your passion. You thriving to keep on challenging yourself, and through all that hard work, you are receiving global attention, and your hard work is being appreciated by so many people around the world. We hope that you continue on to do so, and best of luck with your future projects. Thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.